Everybody to the Office Management Awards Q&A. We thought, Lizzie and I, who works with me, thought we would do this because I know there's a lot of people who think about entering and aren't ever really sure whether to go for it, whether to just put themselves forward. And this year we've done something a little bit different. We have asked our previous winners of Office Manager of the Year, the Office Manager of the Year award, I suppose what we would consider the big award of the night, back to be judges for the 2024 awards. So Sarah, Megan and Kate are all joining us on this, one as previous winners, but two as judges for this year in the different categories that they're going to share with you in a second. So just a very quick intro as to why we've set this up. I don't know if any of you have started your nominations as yet, or your entries, I should say, had a look at the forms. If you haven't, I would absolutely go and have a look at them now or after this call, so you see the kind of questions that we ask. Our process is quite in depth. So I take everything very seriously in life in terms of professionalism and work and things. So I don't do things by halves, as Kate, Sarah and Megan hopefully would agree and have seen in the time that you've interacted with me. So for me, it's really important when you're running an awards programme that you can back yourself and back it up with evidence as to why people have won the awards. I don't actually judge them unless the judges are having a disagreement, essentially. I will step in at that point. And we have had that in the past, where I've had to then make a call as to which between perhaps two or three, you know, what order they win, become runner-up or so on. So I don't judge. I can't, because I know too many of you too well, and I wouldn't be able to not put my bias on it, if I'm completely honest. So I step back and I leave it to people like Megan, Kate and Sarah, who are going to judge this year and be enthralled in the process. So I will stop whittling on and start asking some questions. Can we go round the table? Kate, I'm going to start with you and get you to introduce yourself, let everybody know a little bit about you, and then Sarah and Megan will go on to you guys next.
Okay, so hi, I'm Kate. I'm the Workplace Experience Manager for Funding Circle, and I won Office Manager of the Year back in 2021, which is the very first one. So that was overwhelming, to say the least. But let's just say my life changed quite spectacularly after that, and I'll be able to tell you more about that later on.
Thank you, Kate. Sarah, to you next, please, lovely.
Yeah, so I am Sarah James, and I am the People and Operations Manager at Savient Limited, and I was honoured to win the Office Manager of the Year back in 2022. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to kind of share our experiences individually. So yeah, stay tuned.
Indeed. And Megan, over to you, please, lovely.
I'm Megan O'Connell. I'm the office manager at Lendinvest. I've been at Lendinvest for about a year and a half now, and I won Office Manager of the Year this last time round. So I'm the sit-in winner.
Yeah.
Which I'm super proud about. Like I again, like we'll go over stuff, but I didn't win it first time round, and I was the runner-up to Sarah when she won. So I was very pleased to take a second bout at it and obviously be successful this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. So yeah, you've all mentioned the fact that you won Office Manager of the Year, and I mentioned it earlier in your respective years. Kate, as you said, you were our very first winner back in 2021. So what was that like for you? And how did you go about it in terms of your decision to enter? Were you nominated? Did you just put yourself forward? Tell us more about that experience, please.
So I just basically went for it. I was feeling, I don't know, I guess I was feeling a little bit frustrated in my role at the time, not very supported. And I wasn't sure even if I wanted to be an office manager anymore. I was in a kind of like a weird space. And I was just like, I saw this opportunity and I went, do you know what? If I don't get involved, how am I ever going to know? So it was like my opportunity to prove to myself that one, I wanted to be an office manager. Two, that I was really good at it. And it turns out that I actually am. So like I remember the process at the time. I think I did it over like the Christmas break, and I spent like 3 days in front of my laptop, like going through all the questions and making sure that it was like perfect. And I was asking people for their feedback, and I was just like, "Are you sure this is right? I'm not overselling it." It's just like that's how my brain works. It's just, I'm always kind of second guessing it, but yeah, don't ever kind of feel overwhelmed by the questions. Really dive into them and just prove to you, use it as a tool to prove to yourself that you can do this. And you'll get a lot out of it, trust me.
It's like telling a story. Did you find that as you wrote it, you sort of tell a story about yourself, delve into really what you do, and dig quite deep, as you said?
Yeah, absolutely that. It was yeah, it's kind of when you're in a space where you're not sure about your role and your progression, being able to like do a deep dive into that kind of like, you know, it really does enlighten things for you because on a day-to-day basis, you're always about every other person other than yourself. So that 3 days just delving into every question just, you know, opened up a lot for me. You know, it was really, really useful.
I think we've heard that a lot from people that you know, won awards, didn't win, where they've said it's a really useful process to put yourself through anyway. And a lot of them tie in with when people have their own appraisals and things, so they're writing about themselves, you know, in one succession and using it for two purposes, as it were. So Sarah, what about for you? So 2022 winner, get the years right, Hannah, in my head. What about for you? What made you go for it, and what was that like for you?
Yeah, so kind of similar to what Kate was saying, really. I think it's that end of year, that time to reflect on everything that you've kind of achieved over the previous 12 months. And mine kind of, I was grateful to be nominated by my managing director. So Andrew actually put me forward for the award. So that was the easy part of sending off that email and doing that nomination. It was then over to myself to be able to kind of look at the application form, to look at the questions, and to really kind of understand actually the impact that you'd had in your roles, and actually looking at the questions that, like Hannah was just saying, is very much telling a story of your what you've achieved over that last 12 months. And for me as well, I just had my annual review, which is that kind of great time to look at what you've been able to achieve. For me, I'd been at Savient at that point just over 12 months, so relatively new within the role for Savient. I hadn't actually replaced anybody, so it was a brand new role, and really it was that kind of make or break. It was either going to go really, really well and I'd be able to bring my experience and my knowledge to the kind of team and to the people and operations role, but also to be able to make a success of it for myself and for the team. So I'd kind of prepared and got all of the annual review information. I'd got some great feedback from colleagues that I worked with, people external as well. So having a look at that. And I'm really quite active on kind of LinkedIn and my social media. And that was kind of my first go-to place. It was actually, let's have a look at the last 12 months and all the information and posts and things that I've got on there, and start to kind of fill in the application form, look at where the key information from my social media posts or from my annual review or the feedback that I had, and how it could fit into that kind of application. And it does take that time, but I think hopefully everyone's already started or already submitted their applications, that you've had the opportunity over the Christmas break to just like reflect on some of your achievements and hopefully putting yourself forward for the awards.
Would you say, and Megan, it might come to you where perhaps this is the method that you did or you utilized, but would you say it's good to almost get all your eggs or ducks in a row, not eggs in one basket? That's a Love Island term, isn't it? But would you get all your ducks in a row first? So get all your evidence paperwork, like you said, go through your LinkedIn and almost just chuck everything into a Word document, copy and paste, and then go and start filling the form in. Is that an approach you recommend?
Yeah, so literally you probably had seen when I actually went to submit the application. It's like I took each of the questions, had a separate Word document, and it was just became that kind of place where I'd put all that evidence would go really well to emphasize how I've implemented a really good policy or procedure, or how the workplace culture and how I've improved that area of the business. So it was very much kind of having that Word document and putting evidence, and snipping tool was my new best friend, because I was constantly snipping like the evidence off LinkedIn or comments where people had kind of engaged or giving you those testimonials, or like, oh, that was really great, and just kind of starting to build that story, and then putting your own words around the actually answering the question. So that's how I kind of went about it. And it was pages long, and I did feel for the poor judges that were having to read all this, but hopefully with that kind of not just being heavily word based, it's like I did put pictures, and so pictures about the office, because we've done some office moves, but also putting that pictures and infographics from LinkedIn that people could kind of see the story. So hopefully it was interesting and engaging.
I'm going to put you on the spot actually, and I should have prepped you for this, but would you be comfortable with me sharing a screen share now with everybody of your supporting evidence, just so they can see?
Yeah,
or is
of course.
confidential stuff in there? Because
No.
what people might not know, and the judges this year, you'll have had to do it, is you need to sign a non-disclosure agreement, so that anything you as entrants share, the judges are under an NDA as me and my team, that we can't, you know, disclose that to anyone else. And the judges work in pairs. So there's 2 judges assigned to each category, and some of them have 2 categories per pair. So they don't actually see all of the entrants, all of the entry information between the group. But yeah, is that all right? I'm just going to quickly do that. Just to give people, I'll flick through quickly, just to give you a flavour, if I can figure out how to share my screen, because it's not here. Can I share? Oh, there it is. There we go. This is my first day back from the Christmas break, so my head is not quite in workspace, and my dog is tapping away at me here as well. Here we go. Can you see? Have I shared the right screen? Can you see that yet?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My computer's also crashing because it's still obviously on a holiday. So yeah, so this was the Word document, right, that you were talking about, Sarah,
It
and
was.
you cut and pasted, and then you
Mhm.
sent it to us as a PDF and uploaded that. So I'll flick through.
Yeah, so I think it's that kind of backing everything up. It's that kind of, you can answer any questions. It's a bit like an interview, isn't it? You know, you can answer any questions that you're kind of asked, but it's like, actually, have you got those examples or the supporting evidence to be able to kind of back up your claim, really?
Yeah.
And this is where, you know, you can see I've kind of taken the questions, and then actually it's not just my LinkedIn post either, that there's like one there from Sophie and things as well. So it's like, you know, the team appreciating some of the things that I'd done for them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. You can, I don't know if you can see the page numbers here, so 30 pages. And Sarah's comment about the judges having to go through this. But
it's
they
pretty
do.
pictures. So hopefully
Lots of pictures. But yeah, I'll flick through so you can see the sorts of things. So what in the bits like the CSR bits, you were talking about projects, because that's one of the questions we ask, I think, for Office Manager of the Year. What sort of projects have you worked on, and so on?
Yeah.
So hopefully that helps with how much. You don't have to do this, and this isn't what necessarily awarded Sarah with the big win, but it certainly would have helped tell that story. You know, we have had, I'm gonna have to stop my share very quickly before you see all the entrants in the folder. There we go. Before I close that down and you see all the entrants for 2022. But we have had people submit videos in the past as well of I think there was one, I think we've already got one. Lizzie, have we got a video already this year?
I'm not
Not yet, no, I don't think so. But we had one where someone else has filmed them and they've gone around their office. We had one where they're talking, but also lots of their colleagues are talking about them. So you can get creative given time constraints, I suppose, is the only thing, you know, not always on your side here. So yeah, so that, thank you, Sarah, that gives a good idea, and thank you for letting me share that. Hopefully that's helpful for everybody on the screen as well. Megan, same question to you. So obviously 2023 winner, which is very recent. You already said you went for it in 2022 and were runner up. Yeah. And then what made you decide, I suppose, to go for it again? And other than sheer, you know, determination and, you know.
Well, I'm a completionist, aren't I?
Yeah.
No, to be honest, I wasn't going to, because when I wasn't going to enter this last year, based on the fact that I'd only just started at Lendinvest, and by the time it all come, like you'd released, like open the nominations, I think I'd been at Lendinvest like 4 months, and I was just like, but then I also, it dawned on me that in comparison to the previous office manager that had been at LendInvest, I'd actually implemented loads of stuff. And if I'd have waited until this coming year to boast about it, it technically wouldn't be within the 2023, 2020, this year bracket, if that makes sense. Technically, it would be out of date. So I was like, well, this, like, regardless of the fact that I've just started at LendInvest, this is the most amount of impact I'm initially ever going to have in this company. So this is the most I can talk about. So I literally went back through, and obviously there's leaving a company in a good state as well. That is like a quite niche topic to talk about as well. So I had quite a lot to talk about, and so I just thought, well, why not? Because I know the rhythm, I know my cadence of like how I like to do it. I like to marinate it. So I'll start a bit like Katie and obviously Sarah as well. Like, I do make a document and I put each question at the top of each page, and then I just like brain dump all like these possible bullet points of what could be relevant for these particular answers, using my diary, using my LinkedIn, using my photos from like my phone and all that kind of thing, my social media, just to kind of like remind myself like, oh, that kind of like resonates with that question. Oh, and that'll work here and that'll work here. So it's kind of like 9 to 11 questions of a jigsaw and stuff like that. It's like, oh, I could start this topic, I could start this story here, but realistically the end of that story is going to be in this question and all that kind of thing. So I did it because I had so much to talk about, and I just thought it's all going to be BAU by the time that it comes around to the following year. Whereas, you know, so it was just it was just an opportunity that I shouldn't just dismiss. And also, like I said, I came runner-up the year before, so I wanted the win, egotistically. I was like, well, I got so close, and now I've got a bigger company, so why would I not kind of like do exactly what I did the year before and just have way more and just had that little bit more to talk about. Yeah. And then, like Sarah, I just showered everybody with like evidence and the nominations as well. Like I had the great thing about being in a bigger company means that you've got more suppliers to talk to, and you've got more humans that you interact with on a day-to-day basis, which, if you're nice to them and if they understand what you're trying to achieve out of something, like, they will nominate you. I don't call it a nomination when I'm telling them. I say, can you give us a testimonial? Because they understand that better. It's better digested. They understand, like, suppliers will always ask for you one, so like it's kind of like a tit for tat type thing. And then when it came to the evidence this year specifically, like, I think I got savvier with how I labeled my evidence as well. So I actually said question 3, blah, 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 question 4, blah, blah, blah. And I just like, so that when they opened the evidence, they could like do like a like for like. I think practice makes perfect, but I also did what Katie did, and I used to, when it came down to like, I've got everything that I wanted to say, then I would get my dad to read it, and if he understood it, that meant that we were on to potentially a winner, based on the fact that he has no idea what an office manager is, how it works, why we do something like that, why we're so empathetic or tolerant of certain things. And he also would tell me if I was waffling too much and everything like that. So if someone outside of the industry, outside of anything that outside of like your bubble, your work bubble, if they can understand it, then it means that you're not being too patronizing, you're not being too jargony, and you're kind of like hitting the sweet spot of like just good explanation, I guess.
Yeah, showcasing the best of what you do. Yeah, telling the story again, isn't it? So you talked, Kate, I think you said 3 days you sort of spent checking in with it and going back and forth. I mean, is that the advice as a resounding sort of collective from the three of you, is draft it, go back to it sometime later, get someone else to go and have a look at it, like you said, you know, Sarah, collect all your evidence first of all, grab the questions, as Megan said, from the form and paste them into a Word document. Are we following the same sort of methodology here to really make sure
It would
that
seem
it's
so,
not,
yeah.
Yeah, I reckon so. Because
not
when
just
you
an
when you're
answer it?
stuck into that, it's just like you're like 3 days on the same document, rereading and overdoing it, and you just need to like back away and get somebody else to look at it.
Also, doing it on the form, it's a bit like, I don't know if you guys find when you're doing mass communications to your office, like I always draft mine first, because God forbid I press send like straight away, and then all of a sudden you've got like a really kind of like unfinished comms that you've got to then go back and edit and all that kind of stuff. So I take it off the platform that I have to send it on, and then beautify it and then put it there, knowing that the word count is right, the punctuation is perfect, all that kind of thing. Yeah, no, Word is my friend. Also, like, it gives you like your spelling. I know that the jot form does it all for you and everything like that, but you know, the OG Word document is my saving grace.
Yeah. Or Google Sheets. Is it Sheets? No, Google Docs if you're a Googler.
Yeah. Yes.
Because we have, I mean, you know, I see every single entry. I go through every single one to make sure that they're in the right category. And sometimes, you know, people haven't submitted their evidence, or they might be, I don't know, in the wrong category, whatever it might be. Like sometimes we get people enter who are sitting overseas and they enter for Office Manager of the Year, and we have to move them into international and let them know and so on. But I have seen some entries in the past where there are one-liners. So the sort of classic, to summarize a number of them, is one of the first questions is, what inspired you to enter for this award? And that is on every single award that you go for, regardless of the category. And some people will just put, because so-and-so nominated me. That won't fly. Like, this is the bit, the directive that I give to the judges to give you an insight is, and these guys will see it when they start getting the stuff. It's probably quite nice for you, I imagine, seeing the other side of it now and how we do it. But is they get a score sheet essentially, and most questions are out of 10. And the directive that I give in terms of the guidance and how to score it and what they're looking for, we do talk about spelling and punctuation and grammar. It is quite important to us. It doesn't necessarily get marked down, but it is quite important to us because it is a program. It's a professional program, these awards. But also passion is one of the things that comes up a lot in the guidance that I give to the judges. So we really want to see, you know, everybody has told me my entire career in office management, God, you're so passionate about this role. And I think you have to be to stay in it, but this is something that really needs to come through on your entries, that passion. And being able to explain what you do, I suppose, like in Megan says, almost in layman's terms, so that anybody picking it up can understand it and understand what you've achieved. Sarah, anything to add in all of that we've just talked about in terms of the prep, the time that it takes to finish off on that point?
Yeah, so I think it's just give yourself that time. You know, you should be proud of what you've achieved. So give yourself that time to actually invest in your submission. And we are perfectionists, aren't we? So if we're not going to do a perfect presentation and actual final nomination that we're going to kind of submit, then we're in the wrong roles, aren't we? So yeah.
I should have said actually as well, if there are any questions from anybody on the call, because this is a Q&A, so do ask throughout, use the chat, or if you're comfortable to, as I say, this is recorded and we will upload it to YouTube and send it out to everybody thereafter. But or unmute yourself, pop your camera on if you're happy to be on our YouTube channel. I think we've got 600 followers on YouTube now, something like that. We're getting there. But yeah, so do ask any questions that you've got to any of the panelists, or any individual one if it's a specific question for them. Snipping tool is not using. Yeah, just looking at the chat now. Okay, good. So on to my next question. We have obviously, as I said, invited you all to be back as judges this year. So do tell us now what categories each of you are judging. Megan, I'll start with you. And what will you be looking for from these entries? What's going to stand out for you?
Helps if I unmute. So I'm judging the Sustainability Champion, and I'm also judging Newcomer of the Year. And I think it just goes with everything that I've said previously. I think word count is super important, as Hannah said. In the first, I think it was the first year, there was no word count, so that's why it was able to fly, that someone was able to just like write a sentence and think that that was like okay. But like I genuinely, when I was doing the being the applicant myself, I genuinely was like, well, generically it's 250 words per question. If you're not saying over at least 200 words, then like, are you saying enough? So it was always a personal goal of mine to like at least hit like the 200 mark, if not the 225, if not the whole thing, and make sure that obviously, you know, you're concise and you'll be able to fit as much in as you obviously can within that word count. And then evidence. And I think evidence, like 250 words is not a lot in comparison to the depth of obviously what we actually do. And you'll probably get to 250 and it'll stop typing. You're like, oh damn it. Like, so a picture speaks 1,000 words. And documentation, like, it's not just, obviously, as you saw with Sarah's, it's not just, you know, a snip, or like I submitted documentation, so all my new starter induction PowerPoints and my documentation for like the guide booklet and everything like that. So if you can explain, and then you can just say see evidence and all that kind of stuff, and then that will kind of like allow them to obviously see all the effort that you've put in, as well as obviously you'll be able to talk about it. The evidence will obviously show what you've done, but the words are there to obviously explain the reasoning behind it. Like, you can't describe that in any other words, but obviously the actual like description itself, but the evidence that you provide will obviously kind of like talk about like the hard work that you've obviously put in there. And as Hannah said, like, we've got a very kind of like exciting job. So to see how excited you are about, you know, entering and my dad used to call it a competition. I used to get so cross at him. I was literally just, and I've just done it myself. That's so bad. He was like, have you won the competition? I'm like, it's not a competition. It is, but it's not. So makes
it sound too competitive. We try and be a little bit more cohesive and collaborative.
It's a professional thing, Dad.
There are winners, but there's not winners. Like, we're somewhere in between, because we like to be on the fence and just, you know, all arms are wrapped around everybody.
But yeah, so there's got to be like, if you're just entering for the sake of it, then like that'll show. So the passion is like something that is only going to be like evident through the effort that you put in. And you know, it's like that title will stay for you, stay with you forever. It's not like Miss World, or like, you know, the FA Cup final, where like you get the trophy for a year and then you have to give it back to Hannah to give it to the next person the following year. Like, your name stays on that trophy on your bookshelf, wherever you put it, for the rest of your life. And then there's a new one made for the next person the following year. So like, do whatever you can in order to prove that, you know, that title and that gift of the trophy is like, you know, yours.
I should have got you guys to bring your trophies in, actually, shouldn't
Mine's in my office. Mine sits on my desk.
You can grab it. Yeah, a lot of people on this call wouldn't have seen them yet, potentially.
I'll go and get mine.
I know there's some brand new people. Megan, can I have your permission to not share all the paperwork, but just the file that I've got, because we saved every single bit of evidence? Can I show, just to give you guys, again, you don't have to go to this length. We have had people win the awards just on the basis of their application, just on the basis of their CVs and maybe a little bit of evidence. But this is what Megan was talking about in terms of her documents, just to give you a flavour and how she labelled it. And then these were her nominations. Quite a few, 66.
I had a lot of people in my office.
You don't have to have that many nominations. You don't have to have any nominations. It is very much about you. The main crux of it is your application. And
I think I said it on the night as well. So when you get nominated, you get a copy emailed to you as well, so you know that someone's done that for you. And I egotistically, again, I guess, saved every single one into a Word document. And when I was having a little bit of a boohoo day, I would just go back and read what everyone said nice about me. And then I used it as my appraisal to say, look, well, all these people that I work with in the office and I work with as a third party all say this about me. So it's a nice document to obviously, it's a nice thing to obviously go back to as well, to know that these nominations, testimonials, those are in the moment kind of praise and publicly as well.
I think testimonials is a really good way of putting it, because if you do want, you know, and I will say it again to people on this call and watching the recording back, is your managers, your staff will not know that, where's my logo here, the office management group even exists, unless you've told them about us. They are not following us on LinkedIn, they're not following us on Instagram, they're not on the portal, they're not on our newsletters, they are nowhere, because they have nothing to do with office management. You do. So if you want to be nominated, the only way you're going to get them to know about us is to tell them. And I think using Megan's words, will you give me a testimonial, is really good. You know, if you don't want to say, will you nominate me, asking for that, you could just say, look, I'm going to enter. It would be great to have your testimonial as backup. It will just go on this nomination form if you can do it there. So if you do want that, or you want that first before you enter, then you've got to tell them, because they will have no idea that we exist. So I think, I'm sorry, I'm just conscious of time. The other thing I pick up on what you've said about the word count, just to clarify that. So on most of the questions, and therefore the answers that you need to give on each of the application forms for the categories, there is a minimum and a maximum word count. So we didn't used to have a minimum on there. We've always had a maximum, because we feel for the judges otherwise that could read essays. But we have now introduced a minimum on a lot of them. So you can't put less than maybe 100 words on the 250 word counts. So just be aware of that. Go and look at the form before you do this and make a note of those word counts, that you don't get stuck. You know, I think it was the international winner. Oh, what was her name? That was one the year you did, Megan.
Sarah. No.
Sakina Barr.
Sakina
Barr. So she said to me afterwards, when she won, she was like, oh my God, that form, Hannah, why didn't you give me like 500 words per question? I was like, because the judges have day jobs. But she was like, I could have written forever once I got started. So do be aware of those. There's a minimum on some and a maximum. Sarah, Kate, what about for you guys in terms of the same question there?
So I'm doing Project of the Year and Culture Champion. Now I'm super excited about culture, because it's a real kind of keystone for me. And I'm like LGBTQI kind of like co-chair of our pillar group here at Funding Circle, and I'm also on the brand new FinTech Power list, which is super exciting. So obviously culture means a lot to me, and bringing it to the office. So I would love to know what everybody else is bringing to that, because the way I kind of see office management is, it's just like you're looking after a little town. There are villages that are smaller than your office. So, you know, you got to think about that. So I hope that there's going to be some really kind of like fun, kind of like lots of fun with this one, because it's so energizing, and it's such I'm really pleased that you've like brought this into the awards, Hannah, this year, because it's just awesome, and I'm so glad you chose me to be one of the judges for it.
I'm glad I chose you now as well. The passion coming through here.
Yeah.
And you're currently doing, or I don't know if you've finished now, Kate, quite a big project in your office as well, right? You've squeezed down from 2 floors to 1 floor. So
yeah, guess what? We're about to do a fit out as well. Nice.
They're quite well versed to look at projects that people have done in the past. Sarah, what about for you? What are you judging, and what will you be looking for, please?
Yeah, so I'm going to be judging the International Office Manager of the Year and Sustainability Champion with Megan. So again, something that I'm really passionate about is sustainability, CSR. So that is fantastic, as well as the International Office Manager. And that's that kind of something that I don't necessarily deal with on a day-to-day. So that kind of scope is great. And I think just to touch on slightly is that I only work at Savient, there's 30 of us. So we're relatively small in comparison to a number of other people that might put themselves forward. And I don't want anyone to ever think that they've got to be managing hundreds and hundreds of people and huge, great big offices. And I always kind of giggle to myself, because it's like, an office move for me, being a relatively small company with a small budget, is me putting my scruffy clothes on and me like clambering around on the floors and doing like the network points and things. So it's all about the impact that you have had on your role and being able to kind of evidence what you can bring to that. So sustainability champion, that is massive. It's such key kind of subjects for a number of businesses to actually make business, but also to make sure that they're doing what they can for an environmental impact. So that's going to be brilliant. And yeah, it's just going to be great to see the submissions.
Yeah, and they're topics. I mean, Megan, you entered for newcomer in your first year, right? And then you won hybrid, I think, didn't you?
Yes,
You
so
weren't winning newcomer, sorry, but you won hybrid.
yes.
And
So
I've got your trophy now. Someone's just messaged me saying you've got your trophy.
yeah,
Well, Lizzie,
this one.
there you go.
I
So you
remember
get
there's a
your hands on one of
certificate
those.
as well.
Have you got your other ones?
No, they live at home because they didn't get one at Lendinvest. So the other ones are at home. But yeah, so my first year I went in thinking that it would be that I would be more succinct towards newcomer. And then I think you prodded me closer towards the entrance date and said, you can do two. And I was like, oh, well, my plan is that I'm going to do that once I know what I'm doing. And you were like, no, just do it. So the beauty of it is that for some questions are very similar in some categories. So, and because the judges are different for different categories, you can potentially reuse some answers in and like adapt it. So the base is already there. So realistically,
I put a little spanner in the works there, I'm afraid, this year.
Source guys.
We've made it a little bit different. And you can't enter now hybrid and newcomer and or office manager because they're so close. So we've now pushed it so you can only enter hybrid, and then you could do sustainability or culture or project, but you can't enter hybrid. So hybrid is really if you're an EA office manager, or like Sarah was, you went for hybrid as well, didn't you, Sarah? So you did your HR office manager more so in your role. You might be finance manager and office manager. You have to be office manager or operations workplace, have office management duties as part of your role. And then you might have another, formal title with 1, 2, 3 other roles, whatever it might be. You can't enter hybrid as well as newcomer or office manager of the year. So if you're going for hybrid, you won't be able to enter the other two because they're too similar. And we kept getting that where people would like with one entry were very high up with the other. Because Sarah, were you runner up for hybrid?
Yeah, I was just going to say that because I was
We
like,
changed it that year.
absolutely. Yeah, so hybrid office manager year, I thought I'm really quite aligned to that. So I'd had a great evening and the awards, and I was quite happily sat there, and the office manager of the years, like the runner-ups and everyone was being kind of announced. And I kind of sat there in a bit of shock because it was like, wow, there's quite a lot of people for this. And then to be announced, I was just, bit gobsmacked, I think, a bit overwhelmed by it all.
Yeah, because you've already gone and got your trophy for hybrid. We save office manager of the year. If you're going for office manager of the year, people, it's last. You've got to be there gone 10 o'clock at night. But yeah, we did hybrid, I think, just before that one, or maybe the one before.
Two before, I think.
Because international might have been in between, maybe, I can't remember, but it's late for me and I'd also get a little bit drunk. But yeah, and you were gobsmacked that you were runner up for that, and you were your speech, I remember it's all on YouTube if anyone wants to ever go and see them, but you were like, oh my god, I'm so grateful, and you were just on a high from runner up for hybrid. And then you didn't even get up, you were literally forced out of your chair by other people because you were like, Kate, I think it was the same for you, right? You were like, Megan ran to the stage, I think, but you Kate, were like, what? And people were like, get up, go.
Yeah, I was like, who is it? It was Lucy from CNC, and she was on the stage, and I was just like, nah, Nah, I don't believe you. It can't be true. And yeah, literally somebody like just went and hoofed me up. And I was so drunk at the time because I was like, oh, this is a lovely time. I'm having a really nice time. Oh, is that a Prosecco? Yes, I will have several. And I was hammered, I'm not gonna lie. And then I kind of got up on the stage and I started talking and then I went blackout. I don't remember, but I know I was swearing. Hannah like took great delight in telling me that afterwards.
Yeah. Oh, we like a swear. But it was, I always remember because it was our first year and the first year was utter hell. It was a bit of a shit show for me because of COVID. It was a COVID year and it kept getting moved back. So originally the awards were meant to be in the May and then it got moved and moved. And I had to keep emailing the people that bought tickets, like, vote, what date suits you best now? And it was just constant juggle, wasn't it? But I remember you were like, oh my God, I'm never speechless. I'm normally a bit of a gobshite, I think is what you said. And then you looked down because we have the gold envelopes. I've still got them here somewhere. And they pull out your name. So it's got Kate Turgoose on it, like in big letters. And you spied that suddenly on the, what do you call it? Lectern, right?
Yeah.
You were sort of talking and then you went, oh, fuck. Just like the sheer, like, oh my God, yeah, it's real. My name's
Yeah.
like there. Yeah, that was one of my favorite moments so far in the awards. What am I going to ask you next? Are there any questions from anybody at the moment whilst I read my script and find my next question? If there are, please do feel free to ask while I do this because you guys, can get the most from it then. Jay.
Yeah, I've got a question. I always have a question. So you kind of answered it a little bit already, but what is a reasonable amount of categories to enter?
You can only enter for 2.
Right, okay.
So
So
2
you have to
max,
pick. Okay,
can't overlap with the hybrid thing. So
cool.
2 is the reasonable amount. I would go for 2.
Okay.
You've
Sounds
got
good.
better
Thanks.
odds then, right?
Sorry, I've missed some of the meeting. But when's the cut-off point and things like that for the entrance?
So it's the 18th of February at midnight. We always extend it. And that's not to say we definitely will this year, but every year for the last 3 years, we've extended it by a week or 2. So do not hopefully go to that date. But if you need it, or you think, oh, actually, I really enjoyed entering that, I'm going to enter for another one. The chances are, I think I just said to Lizzie, actually, about 2 hours ago, I think we're going to extend it again this year, didn't I? So between us and anyone watching this back, it may be extended.
All right, okay.
Wink.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, 18th of Feb / a week later, potentially. Right, okay, well, that's more or less it for me. But is there any other advice, Sarah, Megan, or Kate, in relation to entering or anything else that you want to say? I mean, there might be people watching this back who have perhaps entered in the past and not got through, because sometimes people don't get through to finals. Sometimes people get finals but don't get runner-up, or we have highly commended in some categories, or the win. What advice would you give maybe to people that are considering going back in for it, so that they can really stand out this time?
For people that have entered in the past that are kind of dubious as to whether or not they want to enter again, you've done the hard bit. You've entered without any kind of knowledge in the past. You know what's to be expected. You know the feel of it. You've been to the awards. You understand what the night is like and everything like that. And I actually, regardless of like the result or anything like that, it's actually just a really good way to kind of set yourself up for other successes and understand like what you do and like the value that you bring to your team, to your office, to your career. So the reason not to enter is actually fairly minimal in the great scheme of things. Not only you can reuse this, I think all 3 of us have used this to kind of showboat ourselves to kind of get a different position, better money, better accolades, and all that kind of thing. So realistically, this is a job that like will help you for probably the rest of the year, with your appraisals, with writing and updating your CV for potential jobs that you want in the future and all that kind of thing. So realistically, it's many, what's the term? 2 birds, 1 stone. Many birds for just 1 stone. in my opinion.
Yeah, makes sense. Sarah Kate, anything to add?
Yeah, I totally agree with what Megan said. So when I won my award, within 2 weeks, I was offered a new job. So, so I kind of went from in the December feeling not sure that I wanted to be an office manager anymore, then winning an award, then getting a brand new job, and that's where I've been ever since, and I've just achieved so much since then. So even if you have entered before, just go for it. You've got nothing to lose apart from maybe a little bit of time, but you'll get over that.
And
Yeah, if you don't enter, you don't want to kick yourself and be like, oh, why didn't I do that?
Exactly.
yeah. Sarah, anything else from you?
Yeah. And I think every year is completely different. You know your own kind of career journeys, what impact you've actually had in the role that you've been doing for the last 12 months. So yes, you might not have entered the last 12 months or the last 2 years, and this is your year, this is your time to take that opportunity to actually give yourself a pat on the back, and it's like, look what I've achieved, and do it for yourself. Yes, the judges are going to look at your award submission, but give yourself that pat on the back, fill out that awards, and come along to a fantastic awards evening. You get to meet all of us, have as many Prosecco's as Kate's can consume as well, but it's a great opportunity to actually
That's a challenge
meet
right
everyone. To meet everybody and to get together and let our hairs down. So let's go for it.
Yeah, good. And Kate, you've just to summarize, or sort of to wrap up on my last question, you've just mentioned the difference it made to you. You know, you're not the first person who has come to one of our events or put yourself forward at the awards, and at a point when your motivation is really low in terms of your career and your career choice with office management, and we've managed to spin that around somehow through everything we do. But Megan and Sarah, is there anything in particular off the back of the awards that you can speak of that's it's made a difference with, or how it's made you feel about the role or your particular career trajectory? What's it done for you?
It gave me validation immediately. Like, I think from before being successful in the awards scheme, I was very kind of like asked for permission, not forgiveness. And as soon as, and like, I was just very tentative, and I wait for, you know, the green lights to be able to do stuff. And what you've got to remember is that nobody else does office management. You are the sole office manager within your office, potentially business. And the reason why you're the only one there is because no one else knows how to do what you do. So to wait for someone else to give you permission in order to do the job that you need to do in order to allow the business to run efficiently is a little bit backwards. As soon as my name got called out at the awards, it was a bit like getting like the blue tick on Instagram. Like, it was just verification, and like just it was like the trophy got put in your hands, and just this confidence just gets installed immediately. I think it's, you know, maybe it's a bit like, you know, if you're dubious about becoming a parent and then all of a sudden the baby gets put in your arms, and all of a sudden this motherly instinct kind of just all of a sudden comes over you, or anything like that. It's a bit, I'm not a mum, but I would assume that that's the case. So it's just like verification.
Me, I cried and ran away.
Oh God. Maybe it's not that the case, but the verification of people within your industry. So like, I don't see my LendInvest is a financial services company, but I don't see my industry as financial services. I see it as administration and operations and all that kind of thing. So within my industry specifically, I'm verified as someone that has, you know, hit a certain like level of, you know, clout. And that only helps LendInvest. And that's how I basically got my job at LendInvest as well. Like, I changed my title from office manager on LinkedIn on my bio, and it's award-winning office manager. And that was something that literally just kind of like perked their interest immediately. So it makes a massive difference.
Sarah, what about for you?
Yeah, I think it instills that confidence. So you suddenly become a bit of a mini celebrity. people, especially within like the office management network, know who you are and have seen you either at the awards night or seen you on social media. So it gives you that confidence to come along to other events and to be able to kind of enter that room and know that people know who you are, and to be proud of that, and to be able to kind of instill that and give this is your platform, this is the platform to just kind of elevate you now in your role, in your career. I'm currently still with Savient 3 years now, and just excelling at that really, and just being able to really live and breathe the role, and just everything that it kind of represents. So yeah, it definitely puts the foundations, and just makes you achieve everything that you set yourself and those goals that you want to do.
And I think each of you in the aftermath of the awards, I'm pretty sure, told me soon after, or I think Kate and we talked about it when I came to your offices last year, but your LinkedIn inboxes, tell us a little bit about that in the aftermath of the awards. Get a few messages, do you?
Just a little bit, yeah. I mean, it's just like mine is still impactful to this day. It's just like one of our like leadership team guys, he came up to me and he was just like, I want to say thank you. I went, what for? And then he's just like, oh, I mentioned your name when I was buying a new office chair and they offered me 10% off. And I went, what? I don't even know anybody at that company, but okay, go nuts. They've chucked in a few freebies as well. So I was just like, so, you know, your name is just like out there. So people know you, even you don't know them. So yeah, it's like people know who I am, and it's like, okay, great, that's exciting.
Anyone had any autographs yet?
No.
Oh.
Damn, we haven't got that far, but still far enough. Good. Are there any questions from anybody? We've got a few minutes left before we hit the hour. Has that been helpful for everybody that has been online?
That's been
Everyone's
brilliant.
doing
Thanks,
tonight,
everyone.
don't we?
You're welcome, Vicky. Sorry, Sarah.
I said we know what everyone's going to be doing tonight.
Yeah. Going
I'll
through LinkedIn,
rewatch this
Slack.
recording before I submit.
Yeah. You should. I mean, yeah, have it up in the background whilst you write your thing. Hopefully it's giving you a little bit of motivation, you feel empowered, which is one of the objectives we always have here at the group anyway, but also you're going to be G'd up now, G'd up, T'd up, both to go for it.
I have one more thing.
Yeah.
When it comes to testimonials, one thing I did last year was I educated the people that I needed to write specific things. So my suppliers, I'd be like, I spoke about this. It'd be really
Even
good
Liz is
if
laughing
you...
behind me.
Well, it's true. So I did. And I was like, and the people that, so for instance, certain projects within the office, or like if I helped do an event, and I was like, you know, if you could just talk about the sports day, and like, because I've written specifically about the sports day, that would be brilliant. And, you know, if I'm talking about the coffee machine that I had put in, I was like, you know, don't care what else you talk about, but mention Frank. Like, that's all I need. Like, that's all I need. Frank's so it's sort of like, and I just think like in my head, I was like, well, that makes so much sense. Like if I'm talking about something and they're verifying it, like surely that's got to do something. So that would be my last bit of advice. Yeah.
And smile files, so anything that anybody has fed back to you thus far, to be honest, in your whole career, it doesn't need to be the last 12 months specifically. We ask you in the awards to talk about your last 12 months in terms of projects and things you've achieved, but you can go back further than that, especially if this is the first time you're entering, or if it is relevant to the story that you're telling about your background and the achievements you've had to date. But do go back and look through your emails about, you know, Slack or Teams, whatever, just anything where anybody has ever said, thank you, you were amazing at this was great. Even if it's just a few words, that was so good, thanks for helping me. Grab it, snip it, as Jay said, his new favorite tool, chuck it in your evidence, because it does all count. And then it will give you that wonderful, humbling feeling of, do you know, I'm fucking good at my job, because you all are. We just need to put you on a stage and hand you a trophy, hopefully, so you get that validation. Celebrate you all. Do you know what really upsets me is I wish I could go back in time and like double me, create the awards, and then also go for them as an office manager.
You'd literally win everything.
No, I wouldn't.
You would.
No.
You created the schema.
I'd just bribe me. Just make me win. No, I wouldn't. Right. Anyway, as I said, this is my first day back and I'm still somewhat jet lagged, everybody. So apologies. I love my son. I was high on morphine. I didn't really walk away. Right. And what's anything else stupid? Hopefully that's been very helpful. Thank you very much for joining. Kate, Sarah, Megan.
Thanks for
Much
having us.
appreciated. You're welcome, Vicky.
Thank you.
Thank
Pleasure.
you.
All right, we hope to see your entry soon, everybody. Bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.